exactly that. I do think that it's an interesting concept, like the perception of dieting and the perception of restriction, because depending on like the food choices you're making, or depending on expectation, and expectations massive with dieting, something that's so underrated and probably not spoken about half enough, but your expectation of what you're going to expect becomes largely your reality. So if I told you you're on a diet and you associate dieting with over restriction, with hunger, with it being hellish, unenjoyable, time restrained, like it's a 6-week process, blah, 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 that's how you will experience it. Whereas if you can experience diet, like I'm fueling my body with good, healthy, nutritious food, this is something I want to do to better myself. I get to do this. I don't have to do this. I'm making it an option. I'm choosing, like, this is my choice. I'm choosing to do this. Such a different feeling. And there's such incredible research about your perception of certain foods and how satiating they are. I don't know if you've seen this before, the milkshake study.
Oh, I don't think so. No.
So there's loads like this, but this is probably my favorite one. They give a group of people a milkshake, and the first time they come into the study, they want to test their hunger response to this. So they're looking at ghrelin levels after they've consumed the milkshake. So your ghrelin levels are like a short-term satiation cue. So they go up before your meal to stimulate hunger, and then they drop after your meal to stimulate satiety. So they bring all these people in. The first milkshake they have is called like a super indulgent milkshake, and they test their ghrelin levels before and after, and they drop quite significantly because they've had this really like thick, creamy, indulgent milkshake. And then the second time these same people come into the lab, they're given a slim fast milkshake. So it says on the thing, like, this is the diet shake, blah, blah, blah. I test their ghrelin before and after, and their ghrelin drops less. So they're still hungry after the milkshake. And then obviously you've probably seen this coming, but the plot twist is they're just different labels on the exact same milkshake, that you've had not just your perception. So they measured like perceived hunger as well, but not just your perception, but your physiological hunger levels are very different between these two situations, when all that's different is the label. And essentially all that's different is your expectation. So when you extrapolate that to dieting, if you expect dieting to mean that you're really, really hungry, you probably will be really, really hungry, even if you're not in a big deficit. And if you don't expect dieting to be hungry, you won't be as hungry, even if you are in a bigger deficit. So you could have the same calories, the same diet, the same everything planned, but approaching it with a different mindset will have a very different result. And that's so, so important. And that's quite a hard thing, because as coaches, like, it's very easy for us all to be like, oh, here's your numbers on MyFitnessPal, and here's your workout, and here's your step target, and like the metrics. That stuff is like, if you're a half decent coach, you should have that covered. But the mindset side, that's really hard, because there's not a structure to follow, and everyone's slightly different, and everyone comes at it through their own lens and their own experiences and their own previous like conceptions about dieting and misconceptions about dieting, and what they've tried before and what their expectations are coming in. And that's so, so important to set those, but it's not a generic thing, and it's like an individual thing that you need to work through with that client.
Yeah, I agree. That's such an underrated topic, and I'm so glad you brought it up, because I'm 30 something episodes in now. I can count on one hand how many times any sort of conversation about expectations actually comes up. It tends to be more the metrics and the data and the other more tangible stuff. But as I absolutely love this study, by the way. I think that's hysterical, because I'd feel the same with the super indulgent milkshake versus the slim fast one. But I think of a dinner I was at a couple years ago with a buddy and his girlfriend, and she was thinking about signing up for one of my group coaching programs, but she had some hesitations, and just out of curiosity, and we were getting Cuban food. And I asked her, if you signed up tomorrow, do you feel like you wouldn't be allowed to eat that right in front of us? She goes, well, yeah, of course. Like right away, there was a no-brainer thing that she associated with, if I sign up for a program that revolves around a physical transformation, all the things I love are going to be immediately stripped from me. And of course she didn't want to do it. And it's not like I was, a used car salesman. I was just curious kind of where she was at with that stuff. And when I told her, hey, you can absolutely have this stuff, without getting into too in the weeds here, plan for it, adjust the portions a little bit, etc., that became so much more of an enjoyable process for her to not think, okay, I'm Latin, but I'm not allowed to have beans and rice because those are carbs and apparently they're fattening. So she was able to get great results and enjoy the process by just shifting that expectation of, no, if I start this tomorrow, that doesn't mean I have to cut out everything I absolutely love.
Yeah, and I think that you've nailed basically what's wrong with almost all approaches to dieting is that people still have this misconception, whether they've identified that they actually have that or not, that to some extent, whether it's the food thing or going out with friends or going on holiday or whatever it is, that they have to put their life on hold while they're dieting, and that it's for a finite period of time. And I think once you identify that and you break those barriers down and you break that expectation down, and like you've done with this person, like that isn't the truth. Like you don't need to do all of that. And actually that in itself is what's holding you back, this thought process that, well, how long will it take? And then when I reach there, I'll just go back to doing
go back to the old stuff. Yeah.
And it's like, that's why people don't maintain results as well. So it's really breaking down these misconceptions about how you should and shouldn't diet and how you should and shouldn't lose body fat, and how we can help people actually lose and maintain body fat in an enjoyable way. Like I say this far too often, but like while you're living your best life, it's a little bit cringy, but that is essentially what we want, is people to still be doing all the important things in their life and not feeling like they have to miss out on anything, but also at the same time creating a bit of a calorie deficit. Like that's it.
Sure. No. And one last quick example I'm going to work in there in terms of an expectation thing and just thoughts around dieting. Recently, I had a new client whose dad is apparently an incredible baker, and it was her birthday. And she shared with me that her dad was making apparently his famous chocolate cake, but it wasn't an excitement thing of, oh my God, I'm so excited. It was, oh shit, my dad's making his famous. I'm like, that's amazing. That's great. I hope calories certainly do not count in your birthday. Don't worry about that whatsoever. But this is a good thing. This isn't, oh my God, Sam, what are we going to do? My dad's making cake. We're going to eat it. And obviously we go a little bit deeper and explain why it's not an issue, but she thought, okay, I'm in this new program. My dad's making cake. I don't know what I can do now. And, that's just the classic expectation for most people.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point. And when you identify that to people and you put it back on them and you're like, we're dieting so that you can go out and wear the dress, not so that you can stay at home because you don't want to have the calories that are in the drinks that you might have at this event, or like you don't want to go out on the date because, technically maybe part of the reason you wanted to lose weight was to feel better in your body and I don't know, start dating more. But now you're like, oh, but if I go on a date, it might mean that I can't track it on MyFitnessPal because I don't know what the calories are in it. Like when you identify that and you kind of put that back towards somebody, like this is the choices you're making now. Like remember why you started this. Remember your why. Remember what's important to you. And that's a great example. Like I've had clients like this who like this. I've got all these social events. I'm so stressed about them, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like flip this round. You have a busy, full life full of people that want to spend time with you. That's phenomenal. Okay, we need to make some adjustments here to make sure that if fat loss is your goal at the moment, that you're still creating a deficit. But like that's absolutely doable. It shouldn't be, like you're saying, it shouldn't be a negative thing. It shouldn't be, oh no, my dad's made me this really lovely cake. Like, poor me, what an awful thing to happen to me. Such a saboteur or whatever. But yeah, I think we can get stuck in that, and you can get too far down the sort of calorie tracking route or the obsessing over the minutia route and then forget to live your life. So I think as coaches, again, that's like part of our job, is to be like, hey, let's see the bigger picture here. That's pretty freaking cool that you have all these things. And more broadly, like most people's life stresses or barriers that they put up to themselves, like I'm a busy mom and I've got this job and I've got to travel for this and it's my fiance's birthday or blah, blah, blah. You're like, just reframe all of these things. Like these are all positives. Like you have a loving partner that you care about and you want to take out for his birthday. That's an amazing thing. You've got children. What a fucking blessing that is. Like, would you take them away? No, of course you wouldn't. You have a job that you actually care about and that gives you a bit of stress. Why is it stressing you? Because you actually care about it. Like they're all positives. And usually when you look at any life stress, I'm not saying that it makes it easy, or I'm saying that it takes the stress away, but they're usually positives. And if I took all of the stress away from your life, you probably wouldn't have much left there to be excited about. So you actually don't, like most people say they want less stress. They don't. They just need to kind of reframe how they're looking at the stress that they have.
Sure. That's super powerful.